and welcome. My name is Sienna Boyd and I am the community representative at Rancho Family Medical Group. I am here with Dr. Jamie Sotis in Intaza Coffee Shop in Marietta, and we just want to get to know you, get to know what you're about. How are you doing today?
Sounds like a great plan. I'm good. It's great to be here.
Yes.
I love Intaza Coffee.
Me too.
Shameless plug, but there it is. Bee's knees. It is the bee's knees.
That's your order.
That's my order.
Can you tell us, start off by telling us your medical background. We'd love to hear more about you.
Yeah. So I'm a transplant to this amazing state of California.
Okay, where are you from?
So I hail from the Midwest.
Okay.
And so born and raised in Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Way up north there in Minnesota. Yeah, and I know lots of people who talk like that. And they will shake their head when they watch this probably. But yeah, so born and raised in Minnesota. I am the youngest of four.
Oh, wow.
And my family was a transplant from the East Coast to Minnesota.
Just moving all the way west.
They were. And then I was kind of like the oops baby, miracle baby, however you want to spin it. But no, so youngest of four. And so I grew up and I had an older brother who went to Notre Dame. And so there was kind of like this lore legend in our family that when I was 8 and he was graduating from Notre Dame, I was running around that weekend telling everyone that I was going to be a doctor and that I was going to play football at Notre Dame. So one of them happened.
Okay.
Yeah, one of them happened. But I did go to Notre Dame and that was an amazing experience. But when I graduated from Notre Dame and came home to Minnesota, I was pre-med at college, but still kind of, still trying to figure out, was this the road for me?
Right.
And so I got back on the road and went to the University of Minnesota, did a bunch of post-baccalaureate stuff and realized that it really kind of took going through college to really develop the discipline to probably be at a place where I could handle medical school. And so I knew my love for medicine was growing. I volunteered in an ER. I worked as an EMT, and it was a growing desire to want to be a doctor.
Yeah, definitely.
And so I had been applying to medical school and at the time and was doing all of this post-bac work. And then one of my kind of friends from college had told me about a couple of different programs in the Caribbean. And so I had looked into a Caribbean school and I thought, well, I'm going to apply. He applied. I can apply.
Why not? It's the Caribbean.
Why not, right?
Wow.
So I applied to Ross University and I got in and it was super exciting. And so funny enough, I actually flew from Minnesota to Pasadena to interview for college.
Okay.
So funny enough, I stayed with my brother up in Pasadena and Monrovia area. But I deferred for a year and I decided I was going to get a master's degree in bioethics. And so,
can you tell us what bioethics is? I have no idea what that is.
So the non-textbook definition we'll give you. But basically, so if you look at biological advances, technological advances, and you talk about what is the responsibility of the medical community to utilize those technological advances, that kind of biological advancement, in a way with a moral obligation toward kind of individual and community kind of public betterment. And so really you look at all of that and you kind of weigh the moral obligation and the responsibility of how you utilize all of these things. So for instance, you talk about beginning of life issues in terms of reproductive technologies, even surrogacy, all of those issues around beginning of life. Genetic at the time, gene therapy was a big thing going on, like stem cell research. That was really hot when I was in grad school. So then all the way through the entire life continuum to end of life issues. So how do you deal with end of life issues, assisted, physician assisted suicide, things like that.
Wow,
euthanasia,
that's
all those questions. So to take that as an opportunity to say, okay, I'm going to try to lay a groundwork before I go to med school. And most programs are set up in the country as a modular program for people who would be maybe at the point of their career that I am right now. They've been into the career and they want to get some more training and some more education. So they come back and they do it modularly over the course of 3-5 years, something like that. But I was like, I'm all in, and that's very much my personality. So I said,
awesome.
I'm going to try to finish this before I go to med school
Yeah.
and get, everything that I need from just kind of a foundational standpoint.
Right.
And we'll go from there. And so that was kind of the one stepping stone prior to going to med school, and then didn't factor in the fact that I would meet my wife in the middle of that.
Okay.
So,
Did you
yeah.
meet her when you were in the Caribbean?
No, so
Okay.
I was a first semester student in grad school, and
Okay.
she had moved from LA. Actually, she went to Biola, so
she moved back home.
This is a coming home.
Oh, I
Yes,
love
right?
that.
Yes. So she's from Washington originally, West Coast girl.
Okay.
And then so she had moved to Minnesota, and then we ended up meeting through mutual friends, and the rest was history there. And so I deferred again for another year, and then I worked in a lab for an ophthalmologist friend, and then we planned on going to the Caribbean together.
Very cool.
And so it was amazing. I couldn't have done it without her.
Without
for
her?
Sure. Yeah.
So
It
your
would've been hard.
wife, correct me if I'm wrong, but your wife is a nutritionist, correct?
Yeah.
And so she's actually one of the nutritionists that did our guide to nutrition on Choose Health,
Yeah.
which is our
Right.
online educational library.
Yeah.
So if you're interested in learning more
Yeah.
about nutrition, basically nutrition fundamentals, you can go to youcanchoosehealth.com and go check out Amy's nutrition
Yeah.
class, which
Yeah.
is pretty cool.
Right.
So I know you talked a little bit about bioethics.
Mm-hmm.
Did that play into your medical philosophy at all?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I have always wanted to be, I think, the kind of doctor who, who really listened to people, was really kind of patient-centered, and, going through kind of my pre-med stuff, there's kind of been an evolution in medicine, really, in terms of moving from that kind of paternalistic approach to
Interesting.
medicine into
Yeah.
shared decision-making, that's really kind of
A
the buzz
partnership
phrase.
more.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Yep. And so that, we were kind of joking off camera before about Patch Adams, and that movie. I loved that movie. I watched it 1,000 times in med school, and I think for me it was really shaping a mentality of I wanted to connect with people, and so part of that for me was really kind of developing a philosophy of trying to look at people from not just a kind of physical perspective, that they're really psychosocial, spiritual human beings. So there's this kind of wholeness to them that you need to address. And I think, parts of that movie that I really took away that were impactful were, there are things like laughter and comedy that were healing to people, and in terms of a treatment plan, if you will,
Definitely.
or just some outside the box kinds of thinking
Definitely.
that really is more than just pills and procedures. And so I think it was challenging for me to think about what kind of doctor I wanted to be, and then I think just in terms of me as my personality, like I'm definitely a people person,
Definitely.
and feed off of that. And so when I thought about medicine, it wasn't never about, well, I'm going to be in a research lab or something like that. I just didn't see myself
It was
doing
always
that.
going to be with people.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And so, walking through medicine, walking through med school, in some ways it's almost like being in college where you're trying to decide on a major and you're
Sure.
like, okay, I want to do this. And you go on a rotation, you're like, oh, I definitely want to do that, and you do surgery and you're like, I can totally see myself doing that. And so I saw myself delivering babies and loved it, and knew, man, if I deliver babies, then I can't be the pediatrician. And if I am the pediatrician, then I'm not doing babies. And if I'm a pediatrician, then I'm not doing adult, chronic care medicine and doing the whole gamut, the whole continuum of life. And so I realized in med school that really a family physician is where
Who could do it all?
is where I needed to land. And
Wow.
and so then I went back to the University of Minnesota for my residency, to circle back to your original question.
Yes.
And finished my residency in family medicine through the University of Minnesota with an amazing group, an amazing, shout out to Dr. Bixby, amazing residency director, and had a great experience. It was a great place to learn
Wow.
how to do everything you could do in family medicine,
Wow.
and be as equipped as I possibly could be to go anywhere and do anything.
And then it landed you in Temecula, California.
It did.
Technically
So-
Murrieta, California.
Yeah,
but
we are in Murrieta, but yeah, a little short stint in the Midwest after finishing residency. We lived in a suburb of Minneapolis for about a year and a half, and then we moved to small town Wisconsin.
Okay.
And that was awesome to practice medicine in small town Wisconsin for almost a decade with some amazing people. Shout out St. Croix Regional Medical Center, all my colleagues. They're amazing. They really are what they do there. It's big time medicine in a small town, because
Very
it was about an hour from the Twin Cities by car, super fast by helicopter. But we just, we were kind of a conduit from everything kind of in northern Wisconsin that, people go up to their cabins and things happen and they come down to our hospital and clinic. And so it was great. It was a wonderful experience for us in that community. It was kind of the next phase of life for us was to come here. Our boys were getting bigger. They were needing, I think, a change that we wanted to make happen here for them.
Well, you were telling me you have 3 boys.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you like to do with your boys outside of the office? What do you like to do for fun?
We love all kinds of things as a family. We love to be active.
Okay.
But I have fallen in love with surfing. So
really?
Yes. So we joke a lot that I was probably a West Coast boy who grew up in a Midwest life.
Always a surfer dude.
I think there was always a desire there. There was some desire there for a long time. But in med school, residency, and even after when you're living in the tundra sometimes of Wisconsin and the Midwest, when it's February and you need to do CME, why not go to San Diego? Right? Why not go to La Jolla? And so I would do that routinely. I would take the advantage. I'd want to come out here and get my CME. And so one of my good friends from college lives in Carlsbad. He's a pediatrician. So I had tasted my first surfing in Carlsbad and off the shores there. And I just looked at a picture the other day. It was a good memory.
How long have you been surfing?
So I had dabbled, right, those few times during those conferences over the years, but then it really wasn't until when we landed here and then probably early spring when I first tasted oceanside surfing and
so close.
Yeah, and got pummeled wave after wave
after
wave. It's a very humbling experience. So
do your boys surf with you?
But yeah, we have surfing boys.
Oh man.
Yeah, so they all are partakers.
Sounds like you guys are very intentional about staying active.
We are, and and there's so much credit to my wife, who really does a great job of encouraging that, spurring us on, pushing the envelope for us in a lot of ways too. And hers has been an amazing journey to watch too in terms of fitness and nutrition. Yeah. But yeah, we love to mountain bike. We love to hike. We love to run. But
I know that staying fit is a huge part of being healthy. So for those who are just starting out, who are looking just to get moving, can you give us a couple of tips?
Sure, totally. I think one of the things is, that I've probably learned more and more even as I age, is just the importance of moving as regularly as you can. Just even doing a little thing. I think, and my wife is really good about this in a lot of her talks about, really encouraging people in terms of just the baby steps and doing what you can. Because, part of it is just building that habit. She has a quote that she shares a lot of times with her, retreat guests and things like that when she's done some of these wellness retreats. But, part of it is, first we make our habits, then our habits make us. And so part of it is just developing that, little by little and trying to put in place, little pieces like that. So even just today, literally just hours ago, having conversations with some of my patients about taking baby steps and saying, okay, it might be that your blood pressure is way too high. It might be that, we're needing to do some other things to make you, put you in a better place for wellness and the journey. But, little things you could do, just setting a goal of saying, okay, 15 to 20 minutes of moderate exercise, like just walking, and if you haven't done that before, then doing that and saying, okay, what little changes can I make? We talked about SMART goals and things like that, things that are really specific, things that are really measurable and attainable for you, and trying to put those little pieces into place, because like I had said to him just today, sometimes we think too big and we want to make too many changes. We take too big of a bite, and then all of a sudden we're like, oh, I can't sustain this. Yeah. So you might get a little bit of, momentum, but then something happens, and then you just feel discouraged and you feel like a failure, and you throw your arms up and you're like, I can't do this. But I've seen over and over again from different people that I know personally who have made changes, even Amy included in her story, where they just do the little things, again and again, and there's this kind of grit of sticking to it. And then over time you see, my goodness, I know a guy who, a friend of mine, personal friend, who I really, really respect and I've looked up to in terms of just his endurance, athleticism, who couldn't even run when he started his journey. He just started walking on a treadmill, and he was just determined to walk a mile. Like that was his goal.
Yeah.
And then he started, walking more, then he started running, and then he started really running, and then he started biking, and then pretty soon he was doing triathlons. The story continued.
I want to be like your friend.
Oh, I mean,
that's
and
awesome.
I've got a couple of friends that fall into that category.
Wow.
And so anyway, I think it's the little things that you can do, little changes that you can make, and in terms of fitness, it's, the other thing that I think my wife says a lot too to her wellness guests, which I really, really appreciate, is you have to find something that you're going to love doing, because if you don't love doing it, you're not going to stick with it. If you think that it's a burden or it is really something you dislike, then it's not going to become part of the repertoire. Like I love running. Some people just don't love running.
Sure.
And they try it and they don't love it, they don't like it. You're not going to sustain that. But you've got to find what you love, what you're passionate about. And sometimes that comes from trial and error. I mean, sometimes it's trying to find what you're passionate about by actually doing things that might be outside your comfort zone or that you haven't done before.
Definitely.
But certainly finding those things that you love, that are active, and you can stick with it.
I love that. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, Dr. Sotis, this has been such a pleasure just getting to know you. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Yeah, thank you, Sam. I appreciate it.